My name is Elliot Balch. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Central Valley Community Foundation, or CVCF, and we, like about 1,000 organizations across the country, are a community foundation, which historically has meant that we are almost like a bank. We help people manage philanthropic capital and make grants, often small grants that donors are motivated to make to different causes in the community. We are a financial institution. We make hundreds, thousands of grants and scholarships every year, very transaction heavy. And then also, but by virtue of doing that, we've got relationships with a lot of partners. We've launched an initiative called DRIVE, which is developing the region's inclusive and vibrant economy, pulling in some government partners, a lot of nonprofits, some business partners, but looking at a broad range of initiatives around economic development, human capital, and neighborhood-based development. And then we are, at the same time as those specific investment plans, those initiatives are being developed by work groups, we're also using DRIVE as an opportunity to highlight the role of race and racial inequities in access to opportunity in our economy. And so we're learning and developing muscles as a community that will outlast and exceed just the individual initiatives of the DRIVE investment plan. So I guess the one takeaway for local governments, whether it is a local government or a non-government partner like us, somebody needs to convene the conversation and have an honest conversation. Another thing that is coming out of the work that we're doing, flowing from that kind of sense making that we've done, is that you've got to be targeted and specific. So if you find, like in Fresno, for example, that you have an unemployment rate among your Black population of 23%, and you say that you're going to create a program for people of color to have more opportunity, well, it's easy for people of color as a broad category to miss actually the pockets of deepest need. And so you really have to get specific in the strategy and in the outcomes that you expect to measure. We're going to have this number change in the Black community as a result, and being specific like that can be uncomfortable. We're maybe not used to that, and part of that's why we use terms like communities of color, but being clear from the outset helps drive everyone towards the goals and what success really, looks like. Talking about like specific problems and specific outcomes, and not being afraid to name the problem and be specific in the desired outcome in terms of like racial groups or other groups that are most challenged. Well, here's the other side of that coin, is that there can be social capital, there can be cultural references, there can be assets to draw on that are different in each community. And so, just having a program that's for all disadvantaged or for all people of color or for all, these multi-category things, they miss the assets which exist, the cultural reference points. We've had a very intentional focus on human capital. So our education and higher education partners, I'm optimistic that as this initiative, this big DRIVE initiative, which is hundreds of people in our community working together, as it is pushing now into kind of a second year of work, and as we have a change in administration in Fresno, there's a lot of really positive signs, conversations that are happening about how they are part of this in a more integral way. It's not any particular jurisdiction's fault. This is kind of how the public sector is. There are a lot of, there are a lot of tools that come with being in the public sector, a lot of responsibility, ability to convene people and marshal attention to solution, and obviously more funding streams than come through the philanthropic sector. But there are limitations on all that too. Terms that cycle out, term limits, the requirement in the public sector to address day-to-day needs that come up. There's a heavy operational load, as any city leader would know, or county leader. And it doesn't always give you license to even use 5% of what you've got your resources to do long-range planning. And of course, your charter kind of focuses you on one jurisdiction, and we all know those jurisdictional lines don't always follow, logical groupings, and certainly don't always follow labor markets, which are the entity of interest in economic development work, right? So as a nonprofit partner that has a regional mission, we can counterbalance some of those things. We can't do it alone because we don't have a lot of those tools, but we do have the ability to set an agenda that survives terms. We have an ability to set a regional agenda that, goes beyond jurisdictional lines. I think that this is maybe getting back to one of those luxuries that we have as a nonprofit organization, that we aren't regulators, and we also aren't municipal service delivery providers. So in a major way, we have not had to be reactionary to those kinds of political pressures the way cities and counties have been subjected to.